Hey guys, Sci-fi Magi here. We're going to look at malleability today, how metals and alloy can be malleable. Now it's interesting, different substances have different properties from wood and plastic, and they all can be malleable, but today we're going to focus on metal. Take a look at this spoon here. We're going to try something using a rigid but malleable type of metal, but it could also just be an illusion. Now that's an interesting thing about malleable substances. They can bend one way, but they can also bend back the other. So we're going to look at that a little further just now. So talking about malleability and properties and substances that are slightly malleable but rigid. Pencils, not very malleable, so let's not talk about that. Rubber is very malleable. It is a solid that is bendy and will reform its shape. But again, we're not talking about necessarily rubber. Things that aren't always malleable. Like ice. Ice, not very malleable. It is a rigid property. Let's take a look at this now. Plastic. Plastic is another thing that could be malleable to a certain degree. But again, get to a certain point, not very malleable because it won't fully restore. Now, when you're talking about an alloy, like metal can also be very malleable and bend, but it will also reform its shape. So those are some things that are malleable and interesting properties that also coexist inside those worlds.
Menacing malleable materials. The Mohs Hardness Scale. Starring Ben Ductile. Sponsored by Laugh Putty. Super malleable.
So let's try something you can do at home with a hard-boiled egg, some matches, a small piece of paper, and a bottle with a wide mouth. Now you want to make sure the mouth is about the same size, a little smaller rather, than a hard-boiled egg, but you're going to use the malleability principles of the hard-boiled egg, because of course if you had a solid hard egg, the shell wouldn't work. So use a hard-boiled egg already peeled and you'll be ready to go for this experiment. Science rules. So to get the egg out, you can't just drop it out. What you want to do is blow into the bottle, which will create force driving it out. Just like that. So that's it with the malleability of the egg. Now again, the egg is malleable, unlike glass, which isn't malleable. So let's take a look at that fun spoon illusion and how it displays the properties of malleability. So what you're going to do is actually hold the spoon in between your ring and pinky finger so it can fulcrum, just like that. It actually has a way to lever back and forth, and what you're going to do is actually support it along your fingers and your thumb, and you're going to hold your other hand over top. Now you want to cover this little piece of metal with your other finger or thumb, because what you're going to do is allow that to actually drop down as you bring your hand forward as if you are holding it and bending the spoon. But you of course want to act the part and make the illusion look like you're actually bending the spoon, but of course your hand's covering. Now once you get better at doing this original illusion of just doing the bend, you can actually get to the point where once it's here, you can turn your wrist, so now the spoon is actually under your arm and it looks as if you have a full bent spoon in your hand, and then you can just pull it straight out and it looks totally unharmed. So you have a malleable spoon that you just bend. But of course, it's just an illusion using the idea of malleability. Perfectly pitted. Looks like we're gonna have to go to a wider mouth bottle, so that's something to note.
up and try again.